Yes, sir. Digital badges, implications for learning and accreditation. This is the title, where we're at here today, and this is me. I'm not a native New Zealander. I am a Missouri farm boy. I like to claim that I'm an American by birth and a New Zealander by choice, a proud citizen of both countries. I travel the world with both passports. In all my three careers, as it says here, have been focusing on looking at what technology is coming next. My enthusiasm, and I do have a real enthusiasm for badges, developed in 2011 when I came to the United States on sabbatical. And one of the pleasures about being on sabbatical is you have time to reflect and think and look and read and look forward. And one of the things I discovered in about September 2011 was MOOCs, which were just emerging, and digital badges. And of course we know MOOCs have just dominated the online education world conversation. I'm convinced that badges are going to be coming soon. If New York Times called MOOCs 2012 the year of the MOOCs, who knows, 2015, 2016 may be the year of digital badges. And that'll become clear, and some reasons why that will happen will come clear as I present. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do today, well, in the next 35 minutes or so, I'm going to introduce you to digital badges. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why digital badges are important for our future challenges, introduce you to the open badges infrastructure by Missoula, and then give you some examples for accredited badges as learning. During this time, I welcome your participation and comments and discussion and questions. Then we'll have at least 10 minutes, my hope is, for discussion about implications for accreditation. I am no accreditation expert, and so I am relying on you who know more about accreditation than I, once I've introduced you to badges, to think about what are some of the implications for badges. We will also use that time to do open forum and any other questions or comments you have in generally, and also included in the slides are 2 slides that just list some references for future exploration. So if you download the slides from the USB stick that you were provided by Singay, you should be able to access and find some additional resources beyond what I show in here. So, okay? Now, it is being podcast, so when we get into discussion time, we'll be using a microphone in order to try to capture your voice over the PA and have the question and my answer both on the podcast. So, let's get a go. First of all, what's a badge? How many of you know what a digital badge is? I think you know what a digital badge is. Quite a few. Anyone actually using digital badges? Have some experience with them? See how new this is? I personally am not yet using digital badges, but a summer project for me, and summer for me is December, January, and February. A summer project for me is to try to look at introducing badges into my first year information systems course when it begins in February 2015. Badges have multiple uses. We're used to them as identifications, as fashion accessories. I have my New Zealand American flag pin on with me today, and symbols of authority. But really, we're interested in badges as defined here. And we don't want to just think of badges as something that Boy Scouts wear or that scuba dive people give out. We want to think of badges in a big picture idea. We want to think of them as certificates, degrees, ribbons, measuring achievement, learning, competency, membership, peer recognition. Think of badges not just as something that Boy and Girl Scouts wear, but think of it as a big picture, multiple uses for our purpose today. So let's get to the heart of the matter. What is a badge? Well, there's a definition of physical badges, but what if the physical badge, the certificate we hung on the wall, or the ribbon that we got for a prize, or the certificates that will be awarded at the Regents meeting today, what if those were in bits instead of in bits instead of atoms? Then we have a digital badge. So here's my formal definition of what is a digital badge: an electronic symbol of something learned, something earned, or something achieved. Now the characteristics of digital badges, which I'll talk about each in a separate slide, are by making badges into bits instead of atoms, they are transportable, embedded with information. That is a critical characteristic. Shareable, and at the top, and the most important criteria for learning purposes, they're authenticatable. Now this is a new slide. This is the one slide that's not in your presentation. Because one of the things I want to do about at the very beginning is distinguish between what I mostly will be talking about is a non-static digital badge by talking about what is a static badge. For those of you who have badges held up your hands, you're most likely to see them in what we call static badges. Static badges are like this. This is from TripAdvisor. This person has 29 reviews, and for that reason he's got a green star with a gold circle on it. At least this sort of identifies what it's for. But I've got badges from Geek Zone, from Open to Study, a MOOC provider, and also from Khan's Academy here, that, you know, these are on the site. It's not clear what they are. If you click on them, nothing happens. These are static badges. You have to actually go to a separate web page to find that this is for people who have posted 100 times in Geek Zone forums. This crown jewel badge is for people who have successfully completed a quiz in an Open to Study MOOC. And in Khan's Academy, it's a Sun badge. These are not very informative. They're locked into the website. If you wanted to brag about this, you'd have to send someone to that web page. Static web digital badges are fairly limited in what they do, and so they're not going to be the focus of our presentation today. Instead, we're going to talk about badges that have those characteristics I talked about earlier, including transportable. One of the nice things about digital badges is that they can be moved around and displayed in other places. Imagine me applying for another job, and I wanted to collect, instead of just sending out a CV, which listed all my recommendations, I wanted to create what's called a badge backpack. And in that badge backpack, I would list my degrees, my awards for best papers or leadership awards, my leadership awards, my scholarly awards. And then if I would put this into a website, provide the URL and password to a prospective employer. Employers could come there and click on any of those items and get some information about me. This would be my CV, my resume that I would prepare and move off of paper to something like this. So that's transportable and what the aspects provide. Now, this is one of the big characteristics of digital badges I want to emphasize. You click on a digital badge, and it opens up a pop-up window that describes what the badge represents, who received it, the criteria for receiving it, contactable, and if it's verifiable, a link is there as well. So this is an example of a fake badge offered to Katie Hadley by NASA, and it's Rocket Science 101. It's bronze. It's only got one star lit up. If she go ahead and successfully completes the more advanced courses, she gets 2 stars. It becomes silver. And then if she goes ahead and completes the top course, she'd have 3 stars there, and it turns gold. So this is one of the characteristics about badges too we'll talk about. They can represent different levels of skills and of competencies. They're shareable. Closely related to the idea that they're transportable, they are shareable. They're shareable with prospective employees, they're shareable with family, they're shareable with the world. And this is what the world of Web 2.0 is all about these days, is shareability. Look at all the things we share. We share statuses, we share connections, we share pictures, we share tweets, we share couches through couch surfing. Why not badges? Why shouldn't the next big shareable item in the world of Web 2.0 be digital badges? That's a critical question I pose for your consideration. They're also authenticatable, or will be authenticatable. As I'll emphasize in this slide here, there is there's a hierarchy of badges. I've already introduced in a separate slide the idea of static badges. badges that aren't embedded with information, aren't shareable, and aren't transportable. Right now we have a world, badges are emerging in which they have metadata, but not authenticatable. At the top of the hierarchy, something that's not yet here yet, but it's coming soon, is the idea of authenticatable badges. And authenticatable badges means that you should be able to click on a link like this, and a trusted third provider, someone like Trustee or somebody, will provide a digital signature hash digest that would identify and verify that this badge was actually introduced to this person to Katie by NASA on that date. Something that would be authenticatable. This is going to be absolutely critical for things like education. My degrees that I put on my badge backpack could be fraudulently produced, could have fraudulent information behind them, but if they go through and they are authenticatable to the institutions that have issued those degrees, then a prospective employer can have confidence in them. So, it's not yet here. We'll talk about Mozilla's open badge infrastructure in a few minutes. They are working on creating a channel for authentication. And when this hits the world of digital badges, for us in learning institutions, is going to make all the difference in the world. So, with a background about what are digital badges, let's talk about what are some of the implications. Why are they becoming set to become the next big things in accreditations and in credentials? Well, first of all, so much of our learning these days is informal learning. MOOCs, work-based training, evening courses, community education, the odd course here and there, all sorts of ways in which we get informal education. And yet we don't have any way to formally recognize that other than a certificate you put on the wall or something like that. Badges offer that opportunity. So they're equivalent to the certificates and degrees that we issue in our colleges and universities. Digital badges are an opportunity to recognize informal learning through MOOCs and places like that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, badges, those students who are coming to our institutions in the years ahead are already engaged in badge programs. The biggest badges, the programs, if you look on the internet and research digital badges, you'll find case study after case study about badges happening in the K through 12 sector. In the next few years, these students are going to start to enroll in our colleges and our universities. And one of the questions they're going to be asked is, where's my badge? Well, why aren't I being rewarded for the things that I'm achieving? In a session earlier yesterday, I attended, they were talking about flipping the classroom, and they were talking about the 9 characteristics of next millennium, of millennials. Were anyone else there? And one of the things they said is the millenniums, the next generations that are coming through, they want to be recognized for something they've achieved. They've been through a world in which they get stars and stickers and so on. And now they'll come into our universities and they'll go, where's my reward for completing this? And we better be ready with some badge programs to recognize that. And businesses are recognizing it too. Gamification is a big issue in many of the business programs that we are on. By the way, on the way here, I stopped in San Diego and delivered a conference very similar to this. Most of the people in the audience were actually business people engaged in mobile learning strategies. Yes, and I had interesting discussions with them. But I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I was practicing on them. This is the real presentation we're here today. Okay, another reason why badges. Later in the program, I will raise the question I've heard addressed in several presentations at this conference. Our whole degree accrediting system is under threat. The rise of tuition, this is one of many graphs you can point to. Tuition is rising while the perceived value for our degrees is declining. Are stable. So, and employers are increasingly seeking measures, not of skills or competencies. Several times I've talked to people at this conference about what is a the first-year course in information systems I teach at Massey University. How is that different from a first-year course at another university, University of Auckland? What does an information systems major at Massey University mean as compared to an information systems major somewhere else? Skills and competencies are not measured by credit hours and majors and degrees. Employers are not interested, are less and less interested to know that you have a major bachelor's degree in information systems. They want to know the specific skills and competencies that are associated with that degree. And how do we measure those skills and competencies? We give micro-credentials that are called digital badges. So it's not the degree itself that's as critical as the skill set behind it. And by implementing badge programs at our universities, we are actually recognizing skills, not necessarily credit hours, majors, and courses. So, ladies and gentlemen, a critical point I want to emphasize. The digital badge is the perfect credential for the world of 21st century work. Our new incoming students will want these programs. Our institutions better be Web 2.0 reinforces it. We better be ready for it when the year of the digital badge happens in the next year or two. I've already talked about this, Web 2.0, open badge infrastructure. We'd be in a lot worse shape if someone wasn't out there thinking about this and getting ready for it. But Mozilla is there. I'll say a few words about open badge infrastructure in the next slide or two. And digital badges are already being incorporated into our learning management system. The new version of Moodle that was loaded up in Massey University in mid-year, I was surprised to see already has badge programs in it. When I begin to issue badges in my course in January or February of next year, I can already do so. I can create course badges, I can manage badges for the students, add a new badge for a new competency that I want to recognize in my course. Courses in Moodle are badge ready. The conference in San Francisco, I learned that Blackboard also has a badge program being incorporated into its new version. So the learning management systems are ready, the students are ready, and the infrastructure is being put into place. We're already set to go, people. All you need to do is to recognize it and start to think about how it impacts your institution and your course and your accreditation, and then go for it. Some critical success factors to keep in mind. First of all, just as there is a hierarchy of programs and degrees, there will be in badges as well. So a badge from Harvard will be more valuable than one from, say, the University of California, or one from university in my home state, University of Central Missouri, and Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, English language school. So there's a hierarchy of prestige in educational institutions that should translate directly into badge accreditation. And as we've already talked, the badge needs to carry the information with it through its metadata. Fortunately, the Mozilla Open Badges infrastructure has that embedded in it. Challenges. The biggest challenges of digital badges are equivalent to what we see in other digital programs that we offer in terms of credibility, reliability, verifiable, that's what we've talked about by being authenticated, and security. As soon as badges start to become recognized as legitimate certificates of achievement, something earned, learned, or achieved, someone's going to start introducing fake badges and false badges, and we have to be ready to deal with it. That's going to be a challenge for digital badges.